All right. Folks, can you hear me okay? Yep. Wonderful. Let's see. I am now seeing if our technical challenges are resolved. This is in presentation mode at my end, but I don't see the switch. Oh, there we go. I like my picture. Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Enter the Metaverse event. This is my first time here, so I'm really excited to meet all of you. Before we spend the next 30 minutes together talking about gaming and Metaverse, just a quick introduction. I work for Consensus, particularly focused on Infura. For those of you in Web3, you might know Infura is one of the first and one of the most famous, we certainly like to think the most famous infrastructure provider for Web3, provides all the high quality, secure blockchain services, APIs, SDKs, tools, etc., to build any of your applications. Before we start about talking about why gaming and Metaverse can thrive in the crypto winter, I kind of just wanted to talk to you about what's happening in the industry. I feel it's like a white elephant, and it is something that is important to how we approach this, how we approach gaming, and how we approach Metaverse. Words like crypto, blockchain, NFTs, DAOs, they're all buzzwords. They're all superlative adjectives when it is a bull market, when the VC funding is plentiful, the tech stocks are really high up, the money is flowing, everybody's working on all these cool things, and all of a sudden these words are great. As long as you can work on some of these, use these buzzwords, you can pretty much do anything you want. Unfortunately, we are not living in that macroeconomic times right now. All of a sudden, especially thanks to some of the famous companies they were not very famous anymore. I mean, we are famous just with the N in the front, and all these words that were disruptive and innovative all of a sudden are kind of more like kryptonite, right? Like nobody wants to be associated. A whole bunch of people, media who didn't really understand what Web3 was, all of a sudden are nodding to themselves and saying, see, I told you so. This is all a con, this is not disruptive, this is essentially, this is all distrustful. And unfortunately, some of the companies that have made us unfamous, made Web3 infamous, ironically, weren't really Web3 at all. They touted being Web3, but they're not Web3. They're not decentralized in any way. And I thought it was important to address that, especially in these economic times. And I've lived through a lot of buzzwords. I might even date myself here, but I've lived through Y2K. Does anybody even remember Y2K? I was actually thinking there might be some of you who were not even born during Y2K, right? So I survived Y2K, I lived through IoT, I lived through cloud, and now I'm living in the next blockchain. And I guess I do go from buzzword to buzzword. Clearly, I worked on all of them. But I think it was important to, but I think there's something really, truly disruptive about this industry. And it's very unfortunate, which is what is going on right now. And I think one of the big reasons behind that is that anytime a technology and a trend has not reached its full maturity and full capability, there is a lot of distrust. People don't understand. And when people don't understand, it's very easy to spot the areas of vulnerabilities. When things go wrong, it tries to distract from the focus and the technology itself. However, why is this important for gaming and Metaverse, especially in the current crypto winter? It's because exactly that. What people cannot take away, what is a reality in today's world, is that gaming and Metaverse are actually the a microcosm of how this will truly disrupt the world, that they have all the hallmarks for something that can be truly successful. And that is what I wanted to spend the next few minutes talking to you about. So why do we think this? Why do we think, and why do I say that gaming and metaverse can survive a crypto winter? It's 4 things that I want you to take away today. Psychology, the psychology of why gaming is so important and what does it do for us. In the end, it's all about human perception and broadening the market for gaming. 2, abstraction. It's not about, what we forget is, it's not about the technology, except for us developers, and I still like to count myself as a developer, even though I left being an engineer a long time ago. Developers care about technology. We care about the fact that something is very complex and innovation. Guess what? The consumer couldn't care less. They just want to focus on the experience. So gaming helps us abstract that. 3, now we come to the technology itself. What is technology doing in a way that can actually help gaming be successful? And 4th, but equally important really, frankly, is serendipity. We all know there are some startups that make it big, many others equally good who don't. And why? Serendipity has a lot to say about that. And those are the 4 things, and the combination of 4 things that I think is going to make sure that that gaming is going to survive, and metaverse is surviving the crypto winter. So what did I mean by psychology? Everybody games these days. Gaming is no longer nerdy. A few years ago, if some of you or most of us had been asked a question, how do you think about a gamer? What would be the first thing that would come to your mind? A grungy group of grungy young adults with greasy hair, greasy food, black hoodies on, sitting in the basement of one of their parents' houses, surrounded by computers, talking to each other in a language just seems completely alien. Am I right? Again, this is not for Gen Z. I'm just talking to the other folks here. That's what we would think about. That's what we would think about a gamer. But where do you think we are today, especially after COVID? Let me tell you that. Everybody games. And Skyrim Grandma is proof. Have you guys ever heard about her? So Skyrim Grandma is actually someone who games and who has a huge fan following. You should check her out. Her name is Shirley Curry. And she games and she puts up her results on YouTube, and she has quite a fan following. In my house as well, you know what COVID did? We don't have a Skyrim grandma, we have a solitaire grandma. My mom plays solitaire. My dad figured out Xbox with my son. My daughter plays on her console. And I also, in between meetings, and you know how they can go on Zoom especially, I'm on my phone playing whatever game my kids have loaded on my computer, on my laptop, on my mobile device. So gaming has really become ubiquitous. It is completely, and overnight, the gamers have become celebrities. Any Americans in the room here? Oh, a few. So you would actually know what NFL is. I realized after I had this example that football for us is very different than football in Europe. And so I apologize I'm going to preface it with American football. So NFL, for those of you who know it, is NFL event. The Super Bowl is the largest American sport, or the biggest American event of the year. And to get an endorsement with some of the football players like Peyton Manning. Again, when I say football, I don't mean soccer. Oops. And so the gamers are actually celebrities. He was featured on the Super Bowl ad, which is the highest endorsement that you could get. And this is actually proof that gaming is here to stay, that gaming is ubiquitous. So when I talked about the psychology, what I really meant was that gaming is something that, especially in COVID, that everybody does, no matter who you are. Maybe it's not gaming as we understand it, maybe it's gaming in a way that is now bringing together people. It is what psychologists all of a sudden are recommending, that the social aspect of gaming is not only good for the kids because they play together, they couldn't go to school anymore, but it's also about staving off mental illnesses. So all of a sudden, gaming isn't really a bad word, and this research does not help me with my kids when I'm telling them to get off games, by the way. So those of you, just be very careful about how we use some of this data. And really, from a metaverse perspective, everybody wants to escape reality. By the way, I think Nemesis is one of the sponsors here. I love this picture. We all want to escape reality. One example that comes to mind is the way I look at Metaverse here was, has any of you watched the 2009 movie called Surrogates? Have you? If you guys haven't and you like Bruce Willis, which I think he's pretty hot, then you should go check it out. Bruce Willis and Rosamund Pike starred in this movie, and it really made an impression. It's about these people who actually no matter how they look in real life, they have these really cool robots and they use these really cool robots to exist in a virtual reality, to be online. And I thought that was a really cool representation of what we can do with Metaverse. That your physical ability and your physical reality and your physical self does not need to hold you back from what you can do in a virtual world. Your identity is not defined by your physicality. And that, I thought, was a pretty cool concept of how we actually think about the Metaverse. Some factoids that I kind of want to share here with you as we think about gaming. These are just, and I won't spend a lot of time, hopefully you can read the slide and the font isn't too small, but some of the cool things here is the gaming market was about 160 billion. And in today's date, it's approximately $200 billion, with an expectation that this will grow to about $350 billion in 2026. Look at the growth for Metaverse between now and 2030. It's going to grow 10x of what it is today. The number of people who spent gaming during COVID is up by 40%. Multiplayer gamers, 42% of them say that they feel happier than what they did. The point of all of this is to let you know that, and to draw the conclusion that psychology is going to help play a very important role in how we think about gaming. And the fact that the experiences that most of these gamers want are just not going to be provided by Web2 alone. That the gamers and the experiences that they're looking for, the connections that they're looking for, the ownership, the identity is just not going to be enough from a Web2 perspective. And this is where Web3 has a huge opportunity right now. I also really like the idea of 75% of the American adults, like gaming, they don't want to consider that they're gamers, but most of them don't realize that if they want to do something in the metaverse, the 75% of the adults, then they are going to, it is a sort of game, isn't it? Gaming is a big part of what metaverse really is. So before we kind of go on to my next topic, I also want to talk a little bit about the cool examples in Web3 gaming. And the idea is, like many of your gamers here, or many of you work for gaming companies, so I certainly by no stretch of imagination want to say that these are just, by no means do I want to say that I know everything about gaming. I don't. What I know is how to build businesses from scratch to scale, and why I think that we're on to something with Web3 gaming and Metaverse here. But I do want to say that Web3 really makes gaming and Metaverse way better, as my kids would put it. Why? And here are some cool examples. And I'll tell you where I'm going with this. How many of you play Axie Infinity here? Cool. So you know, Axie Infinity is really the Web3 version of what Pokemons is. You can create new Axies, you can trade them, you can transfer the value. What do you think that they're doing that's really cool? Can anyone take a guess at why do you think Axie is cool? And what do you think it actually does really well from a technology perspective? Great, play to earn is a great concept. What else? Anything else? Okay, let me go to the next. Let me tell you about the next two games, and then you tell me what you think is. What do you think these particular games do really well? Krabita is another one. You know, it's also about, it's a cross-platform Web3 idle game that's filled with fighting hermit crabs. But the games are interoperable. It's a cross-platform play here. What do you think is cool about this? The third one, do any of you own anything in Decentraland? Decentraland is an amazing concept of gaming and metaverse. It's a great concept of gaming and metaverse. It's a virtual reality platform that's powered by Ethereum. Within the Decentraland, the users can create, experience, and monetize their content and applications. Do you know what's common between all three of them? They have these concepts of Web3 that are really, really fun. Most of the users that play these games are not thinking I'm playing a Web3 game. What they're thinking is, here is a really cool experience that I can connect with. Play to earn, owning your NFT or owning your avatar, taking it with you, trading it, monetizing on it, they don't care about the technology that makes it possible. They only care about the fact that these are new and engaging experiences. And I think that is the most important things about these companies, that they're making technology cool. They're making technology easy. They're providing patterns that can be followed by other industries to use these Web3 concepts. Which takes me to the second reason why I think that gaming is going to thrive, which is abstraction. And with this I was trying to lead us to this point. It is the experience that matters. It's not Web3. Technology is really a means to implement. Someone had mentioned that it is about play to earn. Yes, it is about play to earn, but it is about the play to earn, which is the experience. It is not about the play to earn technology that makes it possible. So if we can abstract away the complexity and we can make it easy for a larger market segment, larger number of developers, larger number of consumers to build on top, that's when this will be successful. So what do I mean? And I promise you this is my only text-heavy slide, only 2 text-heavy slides here. The point I'm trying to make with this is when you make it entertaining and rewarding to engage with new technologies, more users are going to adopt. The world of NFTs, DAOs, digital assets can unlock new opportunities for how consumers will interact, understand, and play video games. They want to claim ownership. They want to have a social aspect. They want to engage in community. They want to earn to play. All of those concepts, it's not about the technology that the users want. It's about the experience. So you need to somehow mask the fact that there is Web3 underneath it. Right now, Web3 is an island. We need to find out a way how we can broaden the base, both for developers as well as the consumers. I used to be a developer myself. All of us how many developers in the room, by the way? Any developers in the room? 2 and a few here. All of us want to work on cool technology, don't we? It is about innovation and working on cutting-edge skill. So Web3 and blockchain and gaming allows us to takes us to an intersection of all three. We want to and if we are specifically developers in the gaming and the blockchain world, it is about building innovative experiences and community first. However, there are aspects, what you really need to think about it, that you are building the design patterns for other industries. You are building and integrating SDKs, building APIs, setting up design patterns that can be followed by and adopted by other industries, whether they're in the metaverse or whether they're not, such as gaming, social, communication, publishing, many others. All of them will require all the technology that we're building. However, the developers here have a great opportunity as well as a great responsibility to where they can make Web3 and gaming successful. And I also want to give a nod to the gaming companies. The gaming companies have a wonderful opportunity with Web3 as well. If you are a gaming company, why are you in this space? You want to increase your revenue and you want to increase your customer acquisition. And both of those are possible in the gaming space. Both of them is something that can help us not just in the gaming space, but those parallels can be followed into the metaverse as well. I'm just going to be conscious of time. So moving along quickly, if anybody has questions, again, this is the viewpoint of how I look at things, why I think gaming and metaverse will be successful. Please come and find me after the session as well. The third aspect is technology. And I think technology is really important because technology underpins everything that we want to do here in gaming and metaverse. But technology should not be the reason why we're trying to build cool things. You're not building cool things, or you should not build cool things because you're in Web3 and it is tech. You want to be able to say, what do the customers want? What are their pain points? And how should I use the new technology to address those pain points? And there are many companies who are already doing this. Look at how, and this is just one, if some of the examples and logos have not made it here, I apologize. You can always ping me later, and I would love to add to the slide as well. If you take a look at the gaming ecosystem, it's huge. There are a number of companies in the infrastructure tooling perspective, the blockchains themselves, the marketplaces and distributions that sit on top of it, the layer 2 scaling, and then all the other apps and the games and the games that sit on top of it. The interesting thing about the gaming apps here, or the games here, is that they're actually abstracting the technology stack. The customers in many cases, as we talked about, don't really know that this is a Web3 stack. What we need to think about is taking to the next level by continuing to improve the technology, improving interoperability, improving reliability, improving scaling. And once we have that, the customers shouldn't care. Is this Web 2, Web 2.5, Web 3? Doesn't matter. And I wouldn't be human if I wouldn't take this opportunity to actually tell you the tech stack that we have built out. The idea is not to market or sell it to you, but to say that there are companies like Consensus that actually have an existing product stack that you can use for building, whether it is looking at the infrastructure, whether you're looking at support for NFTs, SDKs, layer 1, or more. Last but not the least, serendipity, and I know this word is a mouthful, but the reason I wanted to call this out was serendipity means a set of fortuitous circumstances that help you, that are indicative of being the right place at the right time. And with COVID, as we saw from some of the factoids, the circumstances are right. The world is primed for gaming. Humanity is primed for gaming. And I also want to say the investors, as we all know, always follow the money. When you see that the total addressable market is really big, they are going to fund. I have a really good example from last week. Someone I know really well from this company called Mythical Games went over, left their company, and we were wondering why would he leave at such a good time, until he announced that he joined a company called Phoenix Games that has funded $150 million of VC funding for this company in gaming and Web3. And this is not from 6 months ago, this is not from 3 months ago, this is from a week ago. So investors are still funding some of these scenarios. They're still funding examples in gaming. Why? Because the opportunity is huge. And last but not the least, Web3 is right now an island. What we want, what gaming can help us do, is create a really long, strong bridge, not one of those military bridges where people can fall, to Web 2. We want to make Web 2 mainstream, and we want gaming can lead the way, both from a technology perspective as well as the experience perspective. And that is why serendipity is really important. The world is primed right now to make gaming successful. So, what will you build next? And that's why I think gaming is really going to thrive, not just survive, but thrive in the crypto winter. Thank you.
Well done, thank you all, and thank you. What a great talk. Serendipity is one of my favourite words. How's everyone doing? Okay, I'm testing the energy. My job is to make sure that everyone's awake and to administer a few quick resuscitations if we need to.